All right, today I have Dr. Thomas Weimbs with me, who's an expert in polycystic kidney disease research. And your research discoveries actually led to a development of a product and founding a company. So I kind of wanted to go over and just discuss Santa Barbara Nutrients, which is the company that you're president and founder of, and what that led to, your research discoveries, and how you kind of involved that into a company focus.
Yeah, well, so, as you know, our research in my lab on polycystic kidney disease has kind of led us into new discoveries that suggested that dietary interventions are very powerful in kind of like slowing or stopping cyst progression in polycystic kidney disease. And we came up with some, strategies for kind of antagonizing further cyst growth by using very, relatively simple ingredients, which makes it difficult because, if those are ingredients that are already available, a pharmaceutical company would not be interested in this because, it would be too easy for anyone to copy. So usually what one would do as an academic professor is, you publish a paper, you hope that somebody will pick it up eventually, and you move on to the next thing. Then what usually happens is nothing, right? So nobody ever picks anything up, especially if there's not really much of a commercial interest there. So it seemed very likely that this would be the end of the road for what I thought, were really important discoveries. So, we just essentially said, okay, let's just do it. Do it ourselves because nobody else is going to do it. So we, UCSB got on board, getting a patent application out, which is always important. And, a lot of people I knew were very interested in kind of helping out. That included also lots of people with polycystic kidney disease affected by it. For example, some of the early founders include David Barron, who was the scientific chair of the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation. And I think pretty much on the day he retired from there, he started at Santa Barbara Nutrients. So he's been great to have on board. So he has PKD himself. We have several other people with PKD on board. Martin Vogt, for example, he's our our expert for patenting and licensing, and also serves as the chairman of the board. He has huge experience. He used to be the chief patent counsel at the large biotech company Allergan. So he has done a lot of work in that direction. And many other people. Dwight Otland, for example, he's the chapter coordinator for the Los Angeles chapter of the PKD Foundation. Lots of experience with patients with PKD, what their needs are, and just the daily struggles. And he has PKD himself. Of course, then Jacob Torres, a scientist in my academic lab at UCSB, who has actually been instrumental in making all these discoveries that we published. So he's on the team, kind of leading the research effort there. Craig Atkins, he's our general manager, also has PKD, so he knows the ins and outs of what it's all about. Has been terrific to work with. And lots of other industry experts. We have a great advisory board where, let's see, one of the most recent additions is Fran Towie, the former CEO. He just retired from being the CEO of Fullscript, a very large supplement supplier company. So he's really an industry expert there. He's also an advocate for polycystic kidney disease. His family is affected by it. We have a bunch of other fantastic folks. In fact, the person that initially discovered the PKD gene that's affected in people. Is on our advisory board, right from the very beginning. Other advisory board members are Michael Mruck, who is a terrific nephrologist specializing in polycystic kidney disease. He's a professor at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. Also the advisory board, scientific advisory board director of the PKD Foundation, so he really knows PKD in and out. We have actually co-authored several papers together, so he's made really important contributions to the research that is kind of like underlying KetoCitra. Another advisory board member is Dr. Roman Müller at the University of Cologne in Germany. Again, a terrific PKD expert and nephrologist, doing also lots of research, and in fact we have a grant from the PKD Foundation that really he is doing all the work for. I was just a co-investigator helping a little bit with the initial study design. But so his team is running the study in Germany, and it's I think a fantastic study to compare ketogenic diet with intermittent fasting and control. So I just emailed with him earlier today. So he said the data should be ready sometime later this June, and hopefully we can crunch the numbers and get the word out at a conference in the fall. That would be fantastic. Yeah.
So kind of taking back to KetoCitra, so the product from Santa Barbara Nutrients, and I know it's classified as a medical food, it's not a supplement and it's not a drug. So I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about, why, Santa Barbara Nutrients kind of took that avenue to classify it as a medical food.
Most people have never heard of a medical food. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration in the US, they regulate different categories of substances, if you will. There are drugs, of course. There are also regular foods, your garden variety banana and so on. Then there are dietary supplements, and then there's this additional category called medical foods. So medical foods are actually more similar to regular foods. So the ingredients have to be food ingredients, essentially. They have to be what's called GRAS, so generally recognized as safe, which our ingredients happen to be. So that was a good fit. But also importantly, medical foods are usually used for diseases that have a metabolic, where there's a metabolic problem, which has been recently recognized in PKD to be the case. So the cysts in PKD really have a metabolic defect that has to do with the handling of energy substrates and the burning of them. So that's part of what KetoCitra is addressing there. And it's really, KetoCitra is really meant to work in conjunction with dietary changes and lifestyle changes to support those. So this seemed to be, I think, kind of the perfect definition for medical food as opposed to a drug or a supplement. And, really supplements are actually intended for healthy people. So you cannot really have a supplement for somebody, to treat a disease or anything like this. So that wouldn't be is not the definition of a dietary supplement.
My other question is, how did you come up with the name KetoCitra? Is that kind of tied into some of the ingredients that are in the product?
For sure. So a lot of brainstorming went into it, lots of other ideas, but I think the name sort of says it all. The keto for the ketone in there, and the citra for the citrate in there. So it was kind of, I think, almost a natural fit. It was a little bit surprising that the name hadn't been taken yet. All right, that was maybe lucky.
Are there any kind of clinical trials maybe upcoming that you can, speak on or maybe just talk about briefly as well that might involve the product? So
we just published a couple of weeks ago a study on the Renew program that we've kind of created with the terrific renal dietitians we've been working with Jess Saville, Diana Bruin. So the the dietary program called Renew was tested over the summer with a group of fantastic beta testers. Everyone had PKD, about 24 of them. So we got some terrific feedback from them. So we put all this information and the design of the program and all the details into this paper. So that's available. We're also, as I mentioned, we're working with Roman Müller on a clinical trial in Germany. So that does not involve KetoCitra, so it's just only the dietary intervention by itself. Those results should come out later this year. We're also planning a clinical trial. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this will start a little bit later this year, sometime after the summer. This will be with York Pay in Toronto, so where we would compare the people in the Renew program with KetoCitra compared to controls, and would follow those patients for a year afterwards. There's a whole bunch of additional clinical studies that are sort of like in the pipeline that we're planning right now. Smaller one that we can do actually locally here ourselves. And I think that's very important to actually, test the outcomes and, have peer-reviewed publications out there. Yeah.
Like Dr. Weimbs mentioned, there is the paper out there that was based on the past cohort study, which was based in this past summer. So that's out there available, and it will be linked in the video below as well too. So yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Weimbs. Really appreciate your time, and it's very fascinating how the discovery of Santa Barbara nutrients and the development of KetoCitra came from the research. And I think that in itself is very powerful because, like you mentioned in the beginning, publish a white paper, right? Study, and then that's it. But it's actually here to help individuals. And I think that's the main thing, is that research is leading to helping individuals with various disease states as opposed to just being published and there it is for people to read about. So I think this is a really great thing that you have going, and looking forward to hearing more about some clinical trials and further research down the road.
Yeah, thank you, Alexa. Thanks.